Dr. Glenn and Phyllis just got back from Austin, and on stage, they were talking with a pastor of the church of how he's experiencing something outside of church. And then when he shows up inside, he's there to lead. And so he feels like he has to put a face on. And we were sharing how much we do this, especially pre-connection codes in church, in our workspace, and just living that life of stunt doubling and the burnout that can come from it. And so that's what we are going to share about today is what stunt doubling looks like and how to prevent it from happening with those around you so you can live with more joy, more peace, and more productivity. So welcome to the Connection Codes podcast. This is the podcast where we break open the emotions that take us from being disconnected to connected in our relationships and in ourselves. I am your host, Tara Wages, and joining me is marriage and family therapist, clinical sexologist, Dr. Glenn Hill, and his incredible wife, Phyllis Hill. And together, they have founded the Connection Codes, which is the guide to human connection. And we're so glad you're here.
Yes. Hello, world.
Hi, friends. So, we just got back from Austin, Texas, where we did a Connection Codes event. And, I think that sometimes as the listeners, I don't know that we share in much detail what an event looks like. And what we love to do so often, once we get to where we're going, we just love to immerse ourselves in that culture of the community. And so we arrived on Thursday and just immediately this was sponsored by a church. And so we wanted to go to the church office. We wanted to meet as many of the staff in that setting, in that moment. And it's just kind of like dive in as fast as we can. And even that night we had dinner with just a small group of friends. And for us, I think we only knew one of the couples, so we were really meeting everyone else for the first time. But it's amazing to us just to see, we teach the tools. We teach a lot of concepts, but when you get to actually see them play out and you see people's lives that have changed because of them, and you're able to use them in the moment that you meet these people for the first time. It's just a really cool experience. I think for us, just to hear the transformation in people's lives, like people you've never met before, but they've been listening to our podcast. And so they think they really know us because, you get to know us through the podcast. And then just to get to hear how it has changed their life. And this one was, I think, especially great because we had other connection coders come in for this event. So we had Roy and Julie come in and they were there handling all the merch, but pouring into the people in the lobby. That was so cool. And we had Bridget Blood, who's our lead singles connection codes coach. And she came with us and poured into different relationships, meeting a lot of people. And then we also had the opportunity to teach alongside. She taught alongside with us. And so, it was look at it from all these different perspectives. I was so thankful for that, just seeing the impact that had on this group. And then also realizing it was like a lot of aha moments for people, even though they have followed along or they've read the book or they've done the masterclass. It's like when you do something in a setting like this where it's live, it just has a different feel. Different things come up. And that was, to me, super powerful. And also, we just, a year ago, launched our Connection Codes coaching certification program. And so to see the reality of that, to see coaches come along beside us and have these skills to pour into people is so cool.
Yeah.
People all over are doing events because of that, because they have now got the tools and they can go and they can teach and they can lead workshops and they can present the connection codes live and we're not even there. So that's really cool.
That's a great point because you had the event in Austin, but the week before, two of our coaches, three of them actually had an event. Where are they located? Kristen and Todd. Oh, sad. Kansas. They're in Kansas. Am I making that up? Wes flew them their merch to make sure they had it in time.
Nebraska?
So I should know. I think that is right.
I'll
Nebraska.
tease them about, 'cause I always say that. It's like,
Nebraska.
Yes. And so Kristen and Todd and Becca hosted an event
Kristen,
there.
Todd, and Becca.
Yeah, I should know because I tracked that flight. And ZMR and Hubert hosted an event in Mexico. Like there were multiple events happening around. I'm hosting workshops with businesses. And so it is very exciting to see what is happening with our coaches and how they are sharing in this in-person atmosphere. It makes such a big impact as well.
So we had a check-in with our coaches just recently, and 3 of them were doing events like within the next week or two. And we, of course, were scheduled for Austin, and it's just spreading like crazy, and people are so quickly becoming equipped to share because it's based on the human condition. They don't have to go to school for 6 years. You just get the fundamentals of this. And again, it's already within us. So now we're just learning how to present this on a large scale. The Austin event was pretty big. And it's just so exciting to see, people came in from all around. There were people from different countries there. I lost track of how many different languages were represented, which is super exciting. Somebody from Sri Lanka was there, and I couldn't even pronounce the language that Sri Lankans speak. I mean, it's just so amazing that people are really, really getting just motivated with this. And that was always our vision, our dream. I mean, we love what we get to do. Our faces connected to the Connection Codes. But really the dream is that there are Connection Codes coaches all over the world. I think every organization, I talked to one of the lead pastors of one of the churches there, and he said, we want to have a Connection Codes coach on staff.
Yeah.
That people just know they can turn to that person and be connection coded in sessions. So anyway, I just get hyped about it. I'm just so startled at what's happening. It's been our vision for a long time, but that it's really happening is, I don't know, just over the top. It's amazing for me.
I think that's a great point because we do have that vision of having coaches within churches for sure. People are leaving the church in masses at this point. And so to actually have someone on your team that can connect with someone at their core and bring connection within the community and reduce conflict within the staff, like there's just so much that can go into that. And so it's very exciting to see the momentum building. And for our listeners, you may be like, okay, well, what does this have to do with me? Well, we want to bring you along. Like you are a part of this journey. You're a part of spreading this message while also getting to experience the effects of what this can do in your home and in your own lives. And so one of the things that we have really recognized in being in Austin, something that you've talked quite a bit about, is what it looks like to have people together that are in this, the teamship, the camaraderie, and having that friend that you can call that speaks the same language. And so I know that's something that you're really passionate about, that we've been sharing quite a bit about.
Yeah, because all of us need that. We're born into a family setting, into a team setting. So at birth, we need that. And, that's a big part of the foundation's presentation is humans are the least likely species to survive. How in the world we're still alive? It's one of numerous reasons I'm not able to not believe in God. It doesn't matter to me if somebody doesn't. But I'm thinking there's a designer behind this. Just seems to me there would have to be, because humans shouldn't survive. But when we're interdependent, when we're connected, hence the connection codes, we can do anything. We're so powerful. So we all need this teamship. Phyllis and I are pretty darn good connection coders. We miss. And when we miss, we look just like Wes and Tira, just like Fred and Wilma Flintstone. I don't know if you know them. We look like everybody else. If we miss, we miss. We don't get a free pass. I feel like we should because we wrote a book about this. But we don't. It's just the human condition. If Phyllis doesn't feel safe for me, and she's not able to share with me authentically, we miss. We just do. So we need other people in our lives, just like everybody else does, to help us that we can turn to. That's something, certainly, Terry, you've noticed. If we come over to your house and we've missed, guess what? You're going to hear about it in the first 2 minutes that we walk through your door. And I've never even asked you if that's a pain experience for you. But it's like, well, too bad. If you're going to be friends with us, if you're going to hang out with us, you're just going to hear it, because that's the authentic self. That's the vulnerable self. And in a sense, I don't even really care if you don't like it, because, I'd love for you to like us. But, if you don't, well, we're just going to say it anyway. And you have the right of refusal. You have the right to go, I'm not going to talk to you about this. I'm not going to listen to you, which you never do. You're amazing. But that's what we all need. And it's just so sad. That's one of my most heartbreaking things. And I remember, I guess this goes back decades for me, but so many churches that we were part of, whatever, on a Sunday morning, you're talking to people and be like, oh, yeah, Fred and Wilma are getting a divorce. And other people would go, oh, that's so sad. They had such a great marriage. And I can remember even back when I'm in my 20s, I'm like, wait, what? I don't understand that. And, because we were fundamentalists, it was kind of the idea that, Satan just snuck in on a Wednesday morning. They had a great marriage on Tuesday. Everything's awesome. Wednesday morning, Satan magically appeared, and then they filed divorce papers. And over time, I was like, that can't be true. That can't be true. And so we were all just presenting inauthentically. I use the example a lot that, Phyllis and I would be in a group of 10 couples. All 10 couples are struggling. All 10 couples would drive away wishing that they didn't have struggles like those other 9 couples. Oh, the Stansels and the Wilsons and the Johnsons. And man, that must be nice to live like them. And all 10 couples are thinking that. We were just inauthentic. We just didn't know how to convey authentically our pain, our struggle, our fear. And so we just all presented a fake front. And we did that consistently year after year after year. And when we get right down to it, it was really cool. One of the things, we did several new things in Austin. First of all, we presented with Bridget Blood, which is amazing. That was just the coolest because we've never done that quite like that before. But we did more enactments on stage than we've ever done before. And one of the pastors, so it's a couple, fairly young couple, got on stage, and he was remarkable as far as his desire, his intention, his heart. But one of the things he shared was, my role as a pastor is to bring excitement and positivity. And he presented all this from a very good intention. So when he finished, I said, I feel a little fear saying this, but I want to make sure I'm getting it correct what you're saying. So what you do is you model inauthenticity for your people, and then you want them to be authentic. And of course, he was a little thrown by that. He's like, what? No. I said, well, wait, if I heard you right, you said you leave all your troubles, struggles, whatever at home.
Wow.
And then you come to this group and you present positivity. That's inauthentic. You are modeling this, and then you're frustrated whenever your people follow that example. But that's what we do. That's what people do, is they follow what's being led in front of them.
We've talked about this before, just the stunt double idea. Yeah. And so in that situation, we had the young couple come up and we had them do the wheel right off the bat, which is so raw and so authentic. And Glenn often follows that up with, how many of these emotions did y'all know already about each other? So this is a husband and wife. And that kind of led to, one of them was loneliness, and just expressing a lot of loneliness. I knew there was some of that. I didn't realize like the magnitude of that. And then the question was just kind of asked, like, how many people right here know this about you? And that's when it comes back to you stunt double. You walk into a place and there's almost like, maybe it's job connected, like, well, or just thinking this is what's expected of me, is to smile, to be happy, to bring positive energy. And yet inside there's this ton of loneliness. Well, that was kind of Glenn's point was. And
I just have to make sure I underscore, that's all from a good intention.
Yeah.
This is an amazing hearted person who wants to do good and right. And he's certain that is the good and right. Which kind of, you can look at it from a certain angle, like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But what we're actually doing is, and I did this for decades, so I don't preach from a pedestal.
And I do think that there are times where we talk about that we do need to stunt double. Like, there are times where we need to do that, but we don't live in that. So I just want to emphasize that.
Well, it's interesting. A businessman came up to me during the break and he said, okay, I get how this works within your marriage, but how do you do that and he listed different categories, like local government, like how does a mayor do this? He mentioned in a school system, how do you do this? In a business, how do you do this? And so then I gave the example, and it was great having Bridget with us because she and her former boss, who were both connection coders, used the tools in this language all the time. And she just gave examples. Like she said, like we'd have a Monday morning meeting and he would start with, I feel a lot of anger that you did not get this email out on Thursday. And then she would respond with the power of the ooh and I missed it and listening to what's happening for him. But then she was also to say, I feel a ton of loneliness because I sent 3 emails asking for support so that I could get that project done. And I never got even a reply to any of those 3 emails. So this man that I was talking to was kind of blown away like, oh my word. Okay, I get it. I get it. I get how a boss can show up, someone in authority can show up and actually use the language, use the tools to be really authentic, and then make space for his own emotion, her own emotion, but also hear the emotion. I think about that as far as I think we show up stunt doubling so much that we almost need to just try it for a while, just turn that off and show up authentically. Because I think the moments that you need to be stunt doubling are pretty rare.
Yeah.
Now that I would love to hear your opinion on that because you have 4 children, right? I don't have young children around me anymore. So I don't know if on a daily basis with children, you feel the need that there's just moments where you have to stunt double, or if you're able at all times to say you're sad or to say you're lonely or your emotion.
Yeah. Well, I even, as a employer, think that there are times at work, otherwise we're not going to get anything done. Like there is ultimately a job at the end of the day. And so having that balance of show up authentically, like get support, but we at some point have to achieve this mission that we're here for. And because Wes and I have run into that with multiple team members in the past where we didn't fire anyone. We should have, because we didn't have these tools at this time either. But it's a hard space to be in when right now, so many of us are in the trenches. Like the world is in the trenches. Like I could be dysregulated every day if I don't keep myself moving. And with my kids, this morning I walked out of my bedroom and I immediately was like, oh, feeling a lot of anger. So I do process and share with them, but I also do stunt double with them at the same time, simply because they don't need to know at their age everything that I am experiencing and feeling. So it is this balance of sharing what is appropriate for them at 5 and 6 to know about. I don't stunt double with Wes at all. There's never a moment of stunt doubling with him. So for me, it's definitely situational of where I can and can't, and even what day. There are times with y'all getting this work done, I stunt double just to get through the day, just to get my work done. But then there are other times where it's like, whew, I woke up 2 days ago and I told Wes, I was like, I am very dysregulated today. And he immediately processed with me. So that's also where the community comes in.
Yeah.
That when you have that community, when you have that language built in, then it gives you the ability to get back on course much more quickly.
Yeah, I wonder, I've never really thought this through before, but I wonder if stunt doubling, and there certainly can be situational relational things, like with your youngest, he may not be able to handle I don't know. So that could be a caveat. But I wonder if time crunch is another one. So in other words, you got a 3:00 deadline.
Yeah.
And it's 2:45.
Yeah.
You just got to get this done.
Yeah.
And in that sense, if you're feeling fear, shut up and do it anyway. If you're feeling pain, shut up and do it anyway, because you have a deadline.
Right.
Well, I don't know though, because part of what like Bridget was saying with her former boss, Nathan, because that was a question asked, like, if you only have this much time, and she said, yes, but we would always do the core motion wheel. And yes, you have to stick to the 2-minute or less rule. Yeah. But she said, we got more done. What used to take us 2 hours, we would be able to get done in 30 minutes if we were all able to do the wheel first and feel heard and seen and clear out our limbic system. And so, I mean, even with a deadline, you've got 15 minutes and you are flooded with fear that you're not going to make the deadline, then you still need to say, I feel fear we're not going to make the deadline. It doesn't mean that you then send everybody off for coffee, or you go, okay, coffee break, everyone, you've got 15 minutes. And I think even with whoever, like even a cashier at a grocery store that you don't know at all, you can use the language. You can say, I feel a lot of guilt that the price is not coming up, and you use the language to regulate yourself.
Yeah.
Even when you are trying to run out the door, you're trying to be in a hurry.
Yeah.
I think what's
Especially
interesting.
when you get fluent.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is there's times when I do the wheel and I actually could give about 6 answers per emotion.
Yeah, I get that.
And so I choose one that may be more helpful to the audience in a sense. Like if I'm talking to my grandson and we're doing the wheel together, I may not make the wheel all about the conflict you and I had that morning.
Yeah.
You know, I can always think of those 8 emotions in all kinds of different aspects of my life.
Right.
So I think, and this man that asked me, like, how do I do this in business? How do I do this in a local government? Was one he happened to mention. And when I gave the examples, he goes, okay, wow, I missed this. Now I feel almost, he said, I feel a little silly. You've made it so clear. Because I thought what you were saying is you go to work and you do the wheel with someone and you talk about your marriage and it all has to be about your marriage. And I'm like, oh, no. When you're at work, make it about work. Like use the language. Right. If you are the boss, and I just gave examples of when I ran my company. You know, when I was the boss, I was able to go, man, guys, I have a lot of fear that we did not meet the deadline last week. I have some anger about that. And I have fear that we're going to repeat it this week. Well, that is about work. That is very much, they all tune in. And I just talked about like the loyalty that I had among my people because I was really transparent.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like, oh, in this setting, I'm going to do a wheel here on a Monday morning at a business or Monday morning business meeting. I'm going to talk about my marriage because that in and of itself would not be helpful.
Right.
Unless it's just a hit and miss as in, hey guys, I'm really sad this morning. Glenn has been put in the hospital and I'm really being affected by that. Well, then obviously that's one of those where they're going to all find out sooner or later. And I just assume it be sooner because they're my people. I don't want to be inauthentic and stunt double. And then at the end of the week, they find out that Glenn's been in the hospital all week, you know?
Yeah, no, I think the way you're presenting that is completely on point with how we should be showing up. To be able to just say the word in the moment, what I am picturing is if you don't have safety with your boss. You know, like if we can get this in, I want every HR department. Oh my gosh, because they don't have the power to fire you if your life is struggling right now. And then at the leadership levels, to be able where they understand and they can hold space for it. Because otherwise, if you have somebody coming in every day and they're like, yeah, I'm feeling sad. Yep, I'm feeling lonely. It's not going to connect with them because they don't know it.
Right.
And so one of the things that I'm currently doing is going into businesses and training their entire team and training their C-suites, the leadership on how to use these tools. I've worked with HR people to how to use these tools. That way you can create safety in your workplace without losing your people, because we are all humans. And I'm watching the show Severance right now, which Glenn, I really want you to watch. I think that you would be into it. But it's essentially a show where these people were experiencing deep pain. And so they put this chip in their brain. So when they go up the elevator into work, they know nothing that happens with their outside life.
Wow.
They have no idea if they're sad. They have no idea what happened 2 minutes ago, even if they have a family or not. And it was so fascinating to watch, especially that first season, because one of the characters says, sometimes you would come up the elevator and we could tell that you'd been crying in your car. And he's like, so even though you couldn't recognize the sadness, it was still inside of you. And I was like, oh my gosh, how many places do we function like that?
That is a show. Would that be called sci-fi?
Yeah, they labeled it thriller, which is why I didn't watch it for a while. I don't think it's a thriller, but
that's sort of what we've done in our workplaces.
Workplaces,
you're supposed
church,
to walk through that door.
Yes. everywhere we step into.
Yeah. Wow.
And so a huge part of this mission is so we're not stunt doubling all the time in every space that we're showing up in. Yes.
Yeah. I'll misquote this semi-famous quote, but I heard once, and I'm sure this is wrong, but just the idea that if you have 2 hours to cut down a tree, use the first hour to sharpen your axe. And, you know, for most of us, our tendency is, well, I only got 2 hours to cut down the tree, so I got to get busy cutting down. No. And so when we are processed through, we're just more finely tuned and we are sharper. We talk about when the limbic system is flooded, the cortexes don't engage, and we're dumber versions of ourselves, not because we're dumb, but because we're dull. And if we spend that first time sharpening the axe, sharpening the mind, then we actually are more productive. Yeah. And I think about back when, especially when I ran my construction business and we were so disconnected, dysregulated all the time, so many days I'd go to work and at the end of the day, I'd be like, I probably got 45 minutes of work done. What's that show? Office Space?
The Office? I don't know Office Space. I know
Office Space, the movie. Yeah. And I don't remember what the setting is, but two guys come in to audit the company, and the main character says something like, I think I get about an hour and a half of work done a week. And he says, you know, I come in, I sit at my desk for 2 to 3 hours. I'm just depressed. And then I go to lunch and, you know, and he says, I probably get, you know, hour and a half's work done a week, which the research shows that people are operating at about a 36% capacity, which is about a third. And I don't believe in 100%. Nobody's perfect, but it'd be great to get people up 70, 75, 80, 85% of their capacity. And we hear from companies a lot who are like, whoa, we just had our best quarter ever. And all we did was implement the Connection Codes tools, and people are just sharper. They're more productive, and it ends up equaling more profitability for the company.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that was definitely mine and Wes's experience as well. As soon as we could get regulated, then we could run our business in such a different way than it ever had. And we do. We are so much more productive. There have only been a couple of fights we've even had over the last couple of years. And after one of them, we still were disconnected. And Wes came downstairs where I work. He's upstairs. And he goes, I'm not getting anything done. Are you getting anything done right now? And that is how we are functioning. So many of our teammates, so many of our employees are showing up and they look like they're getting it done, but they are not getting it done.
Well, where my mind is going with this is that we're talking kind of about the outside, the result, like the outside of whatever productivity. But I think about like what we just got to experience in Austin, where there was someone on staff who really, I believe from a good heart, thought this is almost like my job description. Show up positive, show up with enthusiasm, show up with positivity. And for him, he had to stunt double to do what he thought was required of him. But the damage that does to your inner self is so huge. And it begins to break down your physical body, your immune system, and you find yourself at some point, there's probably different words for it, but like burned out on your job, and you don't even know exactly what happened. Where did I burn out? Like, don't even understand how I could have burned out. This was my dream to always do this. And if you break it down to just how often did you force yourself into being a stunt double? How often for that inauthenticity? And some people like the word stunt double, and some people get kind of tripped up on that word. But I even think about in Hollywood or in movies where there is a stunt double, they take all the risks. A stunt double is not like the easy way out. It's actually not. I get it that there's that emotional, wait a minute, I'm terrified to show up authentically. Okay. But that's not the truth for a 2-year-old. So that is we were all born completely authentic. At some point we learned the stunt double, I'm going to hide behind that. And sadly, I would say for most of us, we probably can remember certain situations in a young age. Like first when going to school and being made fun of. Oh, okay, I learn really quickly to be quiet, or I learn really quickly, everyone's making fun of me because I still play Legos and I'm in second grade. So I'm going to not tell anyone that I like Legos. And I'm going to start making fun of other kids that play Legos because that's what's cool. So I'm just going to stunt double all the time. But it's like you're giving up on who you really are. And that eventually leads to, for many of us, a type of burnout.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it's exhausting to always be at that level. And to realize, of course, in this situation, when we talked it through, and this, it took a lot of courage for this couple to come up on stage and to be talking about all this in front of 300 people, because it's like saying, yeah, I don't tell anyone how lonely I am.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is, now the potential is there's a lot of people who want to come along beside you. There's a lot of people who want to go, hey, dude, next time you feel lonely, send me a text. And here's the thing about lonely. Let me make sure, if you're a new listener, you may be missing just lonely is unsupported.
Yeah.
So if you hear someone talk about lonely, that doesn't mean that they need 50 dates that week of going to coffee with people, going to the movies, going to dinner.
Right.
It's finding out in what area of their life they feel unsupported in, because that is an area you might be able to step in and actually help. Like with this young man, he was trying to build an online business of some kind. That's where he feels lonely. That's where he feels unsupported. That's where he sits in front of the computer so dysregulated that it just blocks him on every level. So that's when we said, hey, and you find out who your safe people are pretty quick. Right. You have to put yourself out there. And then you realize, okay, when I share authentically this, you may go through 100 people before you find the handful that you need. But you'll find those safe people to go, okay, they can just process with me. They can just listen. They're not trying to fix me or give me all the advice, which I just need someone who can hear that I feel really unsupported in this project I'm doing. And then you might come along too and find someone that goes, oh, I built an online business. I'd love to help you. I'd love to have coffee. I can give you some of my things I learned the hard way. I'd love to share them with you.
Yeah.
So once you open up, often you can find those people.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, and I think, Terry, you were the one, maybe not, but I just love when people come up with brilliant connection codes ideas. And I think you were the one that said it's like having an emotional backpack.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the day, you put a 1 pound weight in it. Well, anybody can do that. 1 pound, who cares? Doesn't matter. And then a little later, you put another one. By the end of the day, who knows what? You have 140 pounds in your backpack, and you're just living that way. And then you start the next day, maybe you processed a little of that, but you start the next day with 80 pounds, and you just keep adding to it. That's exhausting, and people are just worn out. And all of us have gone to sleep before and felt more tired when you woke up the next morning than you did before. Well, that's not possible. That doesn't even make any sense. But it's true because the emotions weren't processed, and so our psyches did not rest. We cover that in Foundations, that humans need about 3 hours of sleep a night for the body. The human body does. It's the psyche. We're such complex creatures. Most large mammals don't sleep much. They just kind of hang out. But humans need, 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep. But the vast majority of that is for the psyche, not for the actual physical body.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about, okay, if you're a listener and you're going, okay, I don't want to live as a stunt double. I think you're right. I'm headed towards burnout because I'm not being really authentic, and I'm interested in what you're saying, but I'm a little confused. Where do I start? And I think too, even saying to have safe people. So for some, they go, I don't know how to find safe people.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things with the connection codes. Like, for example, having, what we just did in Austin. So you've got this group of people that you see on a regular, and now you all have been exposed to a language, and you can go, hey, can you do the tool, the core emotion wheel, which we'll do here in just a minute. But you can say now, hey, will you do the core emotion wheel with me? And it can become, the more you do it, the more comfortable you become doing it with all kinds of people. So yes, that is a place. Obviously, if you've in a community where now the whole community has been exposed. But what if you're listening and you go, it's just me. So where do I start with this? And I think that we always say to people, immerse yourself in the connection code. So we are always working on more avenues for that to happen. You've got obviously now the podcast, and you've got a book, and you've got a masterclass. Now you have the ability to even be certified as a coach and learn and get close to that community. And then we have community check-ins for those who've purchased the masterclass. So you can then meet other people that are like, wow, y'all are on the journey too. And you may find someone that you have something familiar with. But we are really actively working to create a community online.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? What does that look like?
I will talk a little bit about that, but I would say for this specific conversation, I think that if you're listening, get this in your organization. Because again, having other people around you that are doing it with you, that you're in like physical community with. Because when I say that I do stunt double, sometimes I've processed my emotion. Like I have contacted Wes, I've contacted for like, so having those people around you where you can get it out of your body so your backpack is not full of 50 pounds is key. And so we will put a link in the show notes with our speaker application, just a little form so we can contact you and get it either if it's through a workshop. We do virtual workshops, we do in-person workshops, speaking events. That way you can actually not just do this alone, but you can do this with the people you're interacting with every day. And if you're like, well, I'm not the decision maker, go to your decision maker. Say, I have found this program. I know we have a team retreat coming up. Like we need to bring this group in to share with us because we are all bringing our home lives into work and our work life into home, and we're all struggling because of it and we're burning out. That's something I'm really focusing on right now, is just really thinking through, like, people are leaving their workplace, people are leaving the church, people are leaving their family because they're burnt out. Like you said the word, like that's exactly it. And this tool helps you to not burn out. It helps you to keep your team together. And then, yes, we are definitely working on membership, which more information will come out soon, but we want to create an online space for you in the middle of the day when you get dysregulated, for you to get on, process your emotions with other people that understand, they can hear it and hold space for it. And so lots of exciting things.
Yeah, we talk a lot about our grandchildren. You know, Rowan's 18 months, Malachi's 15 months. We don't do a monthly, quarterly, weekly check-in with them. That's not how they're coded. That's not how they're hardwired. And we don't do a daily check-in with them. You know, 7 p.m., we check in with them, see how they're doing. No, they process it as it happens. And there's no birthday where that's going to change. You know, happy birthday, buddy, you're 4. Now we'll check in with you once a day. Well, that's never supposed to happen. Unfortunately, we end up doing that just culturally, but we're not supposed to. But I did have to mention before we run out of time, one other thing that was just so thrilling for me, and I've lost count of how many, but I sat with so many newly married couples, you know, who've been married 6 months, a year and a half, 2 years, who are connection coders and have not gone through the deep, deep pain, disconnect, trauma, certainly that Phyllis and I did, that so many couples do. And they just talked about the fact that, yeah, we bumped into each other. We stepped on each other's toes. Any two people are going to if they live in close proximity. But they know what to do. And they have the tools, and they very quickly can process through. And they have other people, connection coders, to turn to that they can process through with them. And they literally never end up in these deep, deep woundings. You know, of course, for Phyllis and me, we always say it was many years. I imagine we didn't chart all this. I'm sure that there was at least a full calendar year where Phyllis and I stayed disconnected the whole year. That's unbelievable. We're smart people, dang it. We're very intelligent. We're gifted. We're talented. And we're dumb as bricks because we were so flooded. We had no tools, no idea what to do. Anybody we turned to just prayed over us, gave us a Bible verse, which is fine, but that's not what we needed in that moment. We needed their presence and their safety. So I'm so excited. That's, you know, I'm a marriage therapist. That's my passion, has been for a long time, to see that that's happening. You know, to see real life case studies. It's like, oh, well, this couple, they've been married for 2 years and they've never had that deep, deep, dark, overwhelming experience, because they always know what to do. Even if they have a crappy afternoon, a crappy day, they know what to do to get back on track very quickly. And that's, again, I'm all for connection codes everywhere, anywhere, but marriage just lights, because marriage is so 24/7. You're always in it. And I never wanted to get rid of Phyllis, but I couldn't stand being with her. So it's like, it's like a bipolar, a schizophrenic experience. Like, I don't know what to do. I like her. She's my favorite. I adore her. I care about her. I want to be with her. I can't stand being with her. So I don't know how to do both. I can't do, it was just so overwhelming. So anyway, that's just such a passion of mine. It's just exciting to get to see.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. All right, now we're going to go into the core emotion wheel.
Yeah.
All right, so we are going to share with you the simple tool that Dr. Glenn and Phyllis created that actually helps you access those emotions so you can get them out of your body, so you can show up in your workspace and in the areas that you live life every day authentically. And I want to add to this because it sounds like, well, now are we just going to become Eeyore? Oh, I'm sad. Oh, I'm feeling low. No, actually, I show up with so much more joy now than I ever did before. And it's authentic joy because I have the painful parts of my life processed out. So, who's going to do the wheel? Y'all going to?
Yeah.
Why don't we show it? Because we've got it in our heads, but I know that if you are watching on YouTube and not just listening, we actually have
our emoji wheel.
Yep. This one is our
Where's the camera?
Emoji wheel.
That one.
Two big things we're trying to accomplish through the core emotional wheel experience is, number one, training, exercising the emotional muscle so we recognize the emotions proficiently and we can convey them concisely. The other big part of it is that the other is just going to ooh. They're just going to be present. They're just going to be safe, so that on a Tuesday afternoon, whenever I say to Phyllis, I felt hurt by what you said, she doesn't jump and go, what? No, you didn't need to feel hurt by that. I didn't mean anything bad about that. You misunderstood me. Well, we're off to the races then. It's training her, the listener, to just be present and just be safe. And that's what you'll observe us doing. Okay.
You want me to start? I feel tons of joy that we are going to Mexico next week.
What?
I feel guilt that I have been slow in really taking care of my body. I think I've talked about it for a long time.
Wow.
So just getting some pretty tough answers, good answers. I feel hope in the answers, but feel some guilt that I didn't do it sooner. Let's see. I feel some shame probably in that as well, that I think it's worse now because I didn't do anything sooner in regards to issues with my health. So some shame in that as well. I think I felt hurt yesterday, just in one of our interactions. Yeah, it was definitely a sharp stabbing hurt. Can't remember the details, but I felt it yesterday.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of sad lately, and just the passing of your mom and lots of, I don't know, when someone's life ends, there is a sad, you do go through a lot of memories, a lot of pictures, a lot of stories. And it's like, wow, and there's some sad in that.
Yeah.
What got hit yesterday was some loneliness as I was trying to work out a lot of the details of our trip, because I am the task detail-oriented one. So felt some lonely, reached out to a friend, and she co-regulated with me. It was awesome.
Wow.
Fear, I would say there's a low-lying fear of just with my health, my issues of my legs. Like, if I do these things that are being suggested, will I get the positive results? And so a little bit of fear in that. Did I mention anger? Let's see. Specific anger, I would say I have felt anger in the bigger picture with your mom passing, just realizing that the family did not pull together during that time, and anger of just the destructiveness of that. And yeah, there's a lot of anger in there. As a parent, how you can set up your family to be there for each other versus tearing each other apart. So do feel anger in that.
Yeah, I was just thinking that there's so much loneliness for me in that. And my family of origin has never been connected. And so much lonely in that, certainly for myself, but for all my siblings. And for Mom, who's a remarkable person, the most resilient person I ever knew. But she never got it. She never knew. And she would help set up the destruction of the very family atmosphere that she wanted to create. That's so sad for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, because she so wanted that, but it was clueless. I mean, zero tools, ability or something to do that. Lots of hurt with my family of origin, which I don't know how to say that, but I got so used to it that I kind of got over it a number of years ago. Not that many years ago, but I finally realized that we are not going to connect. I have a cousin who I always tease her that she's the sister that I always needed.
Right.
And she's just so precious to me. And that's what we all deserve to live and to grow up with. Tons of joy about her, as a matter of fact, that just the relationship, just the last few years that has developed with them blows me away. It's just, it's kind of bizarre. And I even look at it sideways like, wait, you're nice to me? Like you're kind to me? Not because you're trying to get something from me. You're just like, kind.
Wow.
And it feels amazing and it feels weird. I'm not used to that from, biological relatives.
Yeah.
Fear. I guess there's always a little bit of underlying fear, just that I'm doing what I need to be doing. I never know. There's, 29 different things I could be doing every day. It's like, am I choosing the right thing? The fear is always trying to tune me in to get me to pay attention and to make the best possible choice. And guilt and shame in that I just miss with so many people. Saw so many people in Austin who are connection coders who came up and said, oh yeah, I emailed you twice, like 8 months ago. And like, well, any day now, I'll probably respond to that email. And I just miss with people and I feel guilt about the miss. And just shame that I'm not better at, because I respond in my head so much to people, and which I feel like should count, but it actually doesn't because they don't know that. Anger, very, very driven with the connection codes. That's so much of what, Tira and I talk about that a lot, just the anger that drives us to keep going, to keep doing the next right thing that's in front of us. Tira is just gracious, is amazing, and I'm speaking for her, but that's her anger that just keeps pushing her. But the same for each of us, certainly the same for me, that I've been very driven in this, even though I don't implement well. But when we get to see people on the, whatever you call that, on the ground, real live people who come up to us and say, we've been connection coders for 2.5 years. Your podcast changed our life forever. Changed our kids, changed our family, changed everything. Oh, I'm just like, yeah, let's do this some more. Let's do this, make this happen because everybody needs it. Our population goal is 8 billion people, so we got a lot to do.
Wow.
I think that's the wheel. Did I ever say joy? I don't think I said joy. Did I say
joy about Mexico?
Oh, yes. Did I say that?
I said
you said that.
But I do
your
feel a lot
joy
of
about
joy.
your cousin, the relationship you've gotten with your cousin.
Yeah.
But I do feel joy about Mexico. That
Yes.
actually surprised me last night. I'm like, whoa, that was kind of lit me up.
Yes.
Pretty cool.
Yes. Thank you both for sharing. And thank you to our listeners. Thank you for being here every week. We desire you to be able to show up in your life without the weight because you process these emotions out, but also experiencing authenticity and deep connection because you are showing up who you are. You're not putting on a face. You're not going through an elevator and pretending to be someone else. And that is how you actually can move freely with more joy in life. And that's what we want you to experience. And so thank you for being here. There will be a link in the show notes if you would like to reach out for us to speak and share either in your business, your organization. Definitely submit. We are taking right now, we're planning out our year. And so jump on that opportunity to have us come in. I know I have 3 in the next month. Y'all have some coming up. So if we can't do it, we can find a coach that can to help you out and get this to you. And so thank you for being here. If you've not already left us a 5-star review, I know I say it. That is the best thing that can help us on this podcast. And so if you're one of those people that has come up and said, like, this has changed me, if you would say that to us in person, please take 5 seconds and leave that 5-star review. And we're so grateful you're here. We do all of this because
you need this.
You deserve this. So let's do this.
Let's do this.